Ray, and we're just plain living here.
Good morning. I'm Peggy Burton. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
And I'm Jim Fuller.
Hi, Jim. I just think you look so sharp today.
Well, thank you very much. Your Uncle
Jim has
Kenny,
a
yes.
double-breasted navy. Is that navy or black?
It's Navy.
Navy. Suit?
No.
Just the sport coat. And that is, folks, a double-breasted navy blazer never goes out of style, ever. I don't care what these people are wearing with their little Charlie Chaplin short-cut suits and tight-cut clothes. A double-breasted blazer never goes out of style.
John and I guess learned that initially from Jimmy Phillips.
That's right.
But somebody asked me the other day, had double-breasted blazers come back in style, and I answered it just as you did.
They never go out of style.
They never go out of style. No.
Just depends on where you're walking.
Yeah.
Here I am between two fashionistas.
Fashionistas,
So cool.
that's right. Bow ties and pocket squares.
I know.
That's
I love
right.
it.
Everybody's wearing fedora hats again, and we used to carry
do
hats
love
at
fedora
Clyde
hats.
Phillips.
Yeah.
You can put them up or you can put them down, just whichever way you
That was the
want.
one thing
I was telling John before we started today, I'm really liking this look he's got with his hats, and I've never been one to wear hats.
We'll have to put you in a hat one day.
Well, John must have a whole assortment of them, because when I was working the Christmas parade when it was below zero a few times, John had to give me a hat to wear
Keep his head
because I
warm.
didn't own one.
Yeah.
But anyway. But,
And my brother, I bet he has 200 hats.
yeah.
He's a hat guy. He just thinks, gets, if he sees a hat that he doesn't have one like, he gets it.
Did you see Cindy Young's little hat the other night
Yeah.
at the gala?
Yeah.
I love that. It was real
Yeah.
classy. It was very English. And I thought that was cute. You don't see that a lot. And there was a time when all women wore hats to church.
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
men wore their hats. Everybody wore hats.
And
gloves.
and then there was a specific type of headgear which you could call it an appointment more than a hat. It was called a fascinator.
That's that little thing that sticks
And
on
it's
your head.
and it might be a little thing with
Flowers
ostrich
or
feathers sticking
yeah.
out of it, but it was just like wearing a brooch in your hair.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
They're called a fascinator.
I still have my dad's fedora. It hangs
Oh yeah,
on- it
well
hangs on my
men
hat
wore
rack, yeah.
hats. Men wore
I love
hats
it.
Yeah.
for years and years and years. And then I know I was trying to find, of course, the stores like Clyde Phillips in all small towns are pretty much gone because of big box stores. And
Right.
big box stores don't carry hats. And I was looking for a fedora for my son Jacob for a present, and I had to go to McPherson's on the other side of Nashville, out on not Church Street, but what's that other one that runs out there? Charlotte, way out past Channel 4 on Charlotte, because McPherson's had the same type of clothes and the brands that Clyde Phillips carried. And that's where I found a Dobbs real felt man's
Yeah.
dress hat. I figured there'd be
There used
one
to be a
in,
place in Winchester you could buy.
well, the Hat Factory was over there,
Yeah.
and it's not over there anymore.
Right.
And then
That
I
was
figured
a good
Murfreesboro with downtown Murfreesboro
Yeah,
and all the
thing.
lawyers and stuff and those big buildings down there, there's not a real men's store downtown in Murfreesboro. Or if there is, there's no hat. There are no hats.
All
in it.
you
Right.
need to do is ask Jimmy Fuller where he gets his clothes, and you'll find a good men's store.
Well, I've got my clothes from Clyde Phillips for years, since he's not
He
in
did a
business.
great job,
Oh,
didn't he?
absolutely.
And they were so kind and so generous in their shop.
But of course, since he's out of business, since he went out of business, I usually have to get them online now.
Yeah.
And that's where people get their hats. You can go to Dobbs
Hey, did you
Hats
see
or
the new
Bailey
way
or
that-
B or whatever and order whatever you want.
Did you see the new grocery shopping that they're doing
Yes.
with Amazon? I think that is
Well, they're
totally
doing that at
amazing.
Kroger's, I guess, where they deliver it. Is that what you're saying?
No, this is where you just have a little, like a credit card, I guess, some kind of card. There's nobody waiting on you. You just go in there and put your little card down and stick it back in your pocket, and you go get all your groceries and you leave. And
Oh, yeah.
Well, Amazon
yeah,
delivers to
and
your
that's
house.
well, that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking
This is a
about
grocery thing. And
where yeah,
ahead.
it's a new thing.
And Kroger's is doing that as well. It started a couple of weeks ago. Not exactly that, but Kroger's has got a deal where where you can just, if you establish an account, you can pull it up on your computer and say, okay, I want this,
And they'll
this.
get it for you.
Well, yeah, and you send it in. It usually takes a few hours, or sometimes when they first started off, it might take a day. But you order what you want, put it on your credit card, and then they'll tell you when to pick it up, and you just drive up out front in these
That's
allotted
very
parking
nice,
places out
yeah.
in front of Kroger's, and they bring it to your car and put it in your car.
That's
You never
good.
have to go in the store. And I suspect, though, that could be a problem because you people are probably going to spend less money that way.
I think they will.
Because you won't go into
Yeah,
the store.
you'll make your list,
yeah, and that's all you're going to get,
that's
stuff
what
you
you're
really
gonna
need.
get, so people have
you
more
know,
money.
anyway, we'll see how that works out. But
But the Amazon
people seem
idea,
really
you don't
pleased
see any
with it.
people. There's nobody in there but the shoppers.
Yeah.
And if you put something back on the shelf, then it goes back on your credit card. It
Yeah.
does all that for you, or whatever your card is.
And even Walmart now is, they've got the self-checkouts.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are using that, where you just scan your stuff yourself and pay for it right
Yeah,
there.
it's-
You never
it's
see
fascinating
a
how-
cashier.
When we
if
finally
you
get
like
to
it.
where nobody is out there, it's just you go get what you need, and nobody has
Oh
to.
yeah, I'm sure that.
You don't.
that
So you can walk,
no longer
you
have
can
to
walk in a
communicate.
place like that with $1,000 in cash on you and can't get anything.
no,
Money
no,
is absolutely no good.
No, they still have cashiers, but like at Walmart where they used to may have 4 or 5, they got one person
That's true,
that
that's
sort
true.
of supervises self-checkout thing, just in case you have.
And the sad
difficulty
part
with
of
it.
that is that
And
some
then-
people are out of jobs.
Yeah, I mean,
And some people like me get frustrated by that, and I just leave all that crap on the table right there and walk out. I'll do without it before I'll put up with all that.
It's
mess.
actually pretty easy. I've done it before.
I did that at a lumber yard up in Brentwood. I was building those condos up there, and I went to the Lowe's or somewhere and needed this stuff, and I came rolling in, and the lady said, "Well, you've got to go over to the self-checkout." And I said, "No, I don't. You're not going to check me out here?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Well, then you can put all this crap back up. I'll go down the road to another hardware store. I'm not doing it."
So they lost a good customer.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
Service. I believe in service.
Sure.
Now, also about those condos, what happens in the cities a lot is people are living in a smaller space, so they don't have a lot of storage space.
Yeah.
And a lot of them use food vendors, and they will have deliveries set to come to their condos, and they're in these little plastic fold-up boxes,
Right.
Yeah.
and they show up maybe twice or 3 days a week with your stuff, because you have a refrigerator and maybe one little cabinet here.
Yeah.
You don't have a pantry and freezers and all of that kind of stuff. So they're figuring out, the food vendors are figuring out a way to get you money.
Oh, yeah.
My daughter loves it. She's all into all this high tech stuff,
Yeah.
of course.
Well, they all
and
are that age.
and I like it too, because we have to buy things at the office periodically, and I've noticed that honestly we spend about half as much as
That's
we do
good.
if Pam
Yeah, sure
goes
is.
and gets
Goes
it.
to the store.
If she just pulls up what she needs there.
And it comes up.
Yeah, and just goes and picks that up. She doesn't have to go in the store.
That's
and it
a
costs
very nice
about,
service.
About half as much.
Well, and a lot of stores in Europe, and I was reading a book called Utility, Youtility, about that the utility that someone offers you is more important than anything. And you go in a grocery store, or say like a Sears in Europe, and you have your shopping list in your phone, and you go onto their Wi-Fi and hit that, and it will direct you, GPS you, to
Where
within
you
2
need to
feet
go.
Yeah.
of that item.
That's nice, because I get lost and I go to Kroger's now.
Well, what they figured out
I'm not a
is,
big
instead
shopper.
of changing the store around all the time where you can't find it, and you've got 30 minutes to shop, you're spending 30 minutes trying to find
Trying
what
to
you
find
need.
What you need, yeah.
They can get you what you need in 15 minutes. They figure maybe then you might take that other 15 minutes and see something else that you didn't have on your list.
Yeah. True.
My daughter has a computer deal app that if they're on a diet, if the family's on a diet, they plug in what they're going to eat for the next 7 days, and if this is like cooking it at home,
Yeah.
and then it prints out, these are the ingredients you need.
So you go shop for those ingredients.
Yeah.
Or you call Kroger's.
Yeah,
Give me a
yeah.
list.
So this is what you need to prepare these meals for the next 7 days.
Right.
And that's what you go buy, you know. But,
Right. And you see a lot of advertisement
So-
on the television about these food groups that will send a box of food to your house and everything you need to prepare this specific set of meals.
just like
And the advertisement shows a mom and a dad, and it's all about the joy of cooking, and 2 or 3 little kids, and they're all chopping
they're
up
chopping
stuff
and
and
making
fixing
food.
up stuff. That's the same mom and dad and kids who have band practice, dancing
Yeah,
practice,
absolutely.
baseball, soccer. They're not at home to do that.
Right.
So it's all a big story.
You know,
Yeah.
I realized last night my wife was not home, and so I realized that, you know, she's in all this healthy eating stuff, and which is good for me.
And you wanted a hamburger.
Because I needed to. No, I really didn't. I just really wanted to make a sandwich or something. But I'm looking in the house, and I'm not real familiar with where everything is anyway. But I'm thinking, what does one eat around here? There's nothing to eat in this house unless you actually prepared it. You know, I don't want to do that. You know.
You didn't want to chop an onion and some celery and some carrots.
No.
Well,
You know,
it's sort of like I'm reading this book that Philip gave me called At Home, and it's a journey through an English rectory that this guy owns, and how everything that happens in history ends up in your house. The lighting, the glass, and how the rooms are even defined. And I'm reading through a part right now talking about English state homes,
Yeah.
country homes that had maybe 200 rooms and 300 servants and all of that.
That'd be nice.
And it was one thing about how the one young prince was upset when they downsized on their staff, and he went to brush his teeth, and the toothbrush didn't foam like it was supposed to, and he had no idea that there was a servant putting the paste on his toothbrush in the morning before he went in there. So it sort of sounds like, you open up the refrigerator and say there's nothing, it's full, but there's nothing to eat here.
Nothing to eat, right?
Yeah, it was over my head. You know.
Oh, man.
You know,
That's great.
Well, now
Well,
that we've solved the world's problems.
we've talked ourselves right out of time. Without any more useless drivel, we'll be back with a great show here in just a little bit. Pay attention to the commercials that you're getting ready to watch, and thank our sponsors, because they're the reason we've been here for the last 25 years bringing you local information on Charter Channel 6. We'll be back in a minute.
Russell's got your truck, man. Russell's got your truck. Chevy, Ford, and Ram, man. Russell's got your truck. With the best selection anywhere. Russell's got your truck.
Keith Barnett here at the Russell Barnett Automotive family, and man, do we ever have your truck. 4 brands, hundreds to choose from, all at year-end discounted prices. So with so much to choose from, my question is, why buy your next truck anywhere else?
Russell's got your truck, man.
All I have to do is think about what I was physically before and what I am now, and I don't ever want to go back to that original situation.
The overall mission of the rehab team is always what is best for the patient and how we can facilitate maximum potential from every resident.
Well, the most important thing to me is that I'm allowed to do whatever I want to do,
Everyday Miracles, Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and this is our segment called what?
Kind of noisy back there, isn't
What
it?
were they saying back there? Anyway, this is our segment we call Police Pointers, and obviously by now you know joining me is Paul Blackwell, who is the star of this segment. And what happened in the audience?
I don't know. That little group back there is getting a little loud and laughing. But
yeah. Oh, I think you kind of know one of those young ladies quite well, right?
My wife.
Your wife. So Paul's wife is here joining us in the studio today. There's Lenore in the back. She's already causing a problem, but we'll try to struggle through this. Are you going to have to talk to her about this,
It's
Paul?
her birthday today too.
Is it Lenore's
Happy birthday.
Bless her heart. She's at least 25, I'm sure.
24.
24.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. You're a lucky man, Paul.
I know it. I am.
Paul is a lucky man. Yesterday he got to meet, probably, I don't know this for sure, but he got to meet Miss Tennessee.
Yes, she was in town.
And he was so inspired by her presentation that he's started a new program to whereby he sort of supports what
I think you're losing it here, Jim.
It's Lenore's fault. She threw me off to begin with here this morning. It's all her fault. Okay. Tell us why you're here today, Paul.
Well, I'm here because we do this every 2 weeks. But
this is as bad as the segment. What were we talking
about? Pigs
yeah,
in
pigs.
town.
We totally lost it on that.
And people will probably say, what in the world were they talking about? But that's the one for the archives.
Right,
that
absolutely.
Bring out one day.
Absolutely.
But yesterday, Miss Tennessee was in town. She spent the entire day here at the invitation of Mayor Curley. And one of her platforms is drug abuse. Mm-hmm. She tells a very touching story of her family that had been affected by opioid abuse. Mm-hmm. So she's able to really talk to it from a upfront and personal context. And so the entire day was centered around a luncheon where she spoke. Then the mayor had a roundtable discussion about drug abuse and drug issues with some of the nonprofits. State people were here, some local people, some faith-based organizations, just to talk about different ways they address drug abuse, some of their concerns and some of their experiences. So it was a good long day with Miss Tennessee here, kind of being the emphasis for this discussion. And one of the things that I spoke about when we talked about how can we combat the drug abuse issue was to talk about our drug take-back box that we have in the police department. And we hope a lot of people have heard about it, but we still find that there are folks that have not. And it's a way that someone can dispose of their expired, no longer needed medications in a safe and anonymous way. So we basically have a mailbox in the lobby of the police department that anyone can just walk in and drop their medications in that mailbox, no questions asked, and then we will take it and destroy it in the proper manner. Very effective program. We started it about 6 years ago with the Anti-Drug Coalition, and at the end of 2017, this last year, we've been in it 6 years. And to date, we had collected 2,555 pounds of medication.
That's a lot of drugs.
That's a lot of, that's taken off the street. Because the reason for the program is that we know that a lot of medication is taken from people that have a legitimate prescription. We hear of people having parties. Next thing they know, they go to get their medication the next morning and it's all gone. Someone's gone into their medicine cabinet or gone to their purse or wherever, gone through their dresser drawers and taken medication. We know that young people have gone to people's houses and taken medication. We know of young people that have taken their parents' medication. So that program was kind of designed to get that stuff out of the homes, get it out of a relative that maybe has passed away that had a lot of medication. Gives you an opportunity to dispose of it in a safe way. So we encourage people to use it. You don't have to be a Tullahoma resident, you can be anybody. If you're just passing through town and you want to drop it off, you come in the police department, put it in our mailbox, and and then we destroy it. We have to collect it about every 2 weeks because our mailbox just gets overflowing.
No kidding.
It does. We have to collect it. The TBI gives us 55-gallon drums that we keep, and we dump the stuff in it. And then about once a quarter, every 3 months, the TBI will come by and pick up usually 2 of those 55-gallon drums from us. And then they'll take it and they'll destroy it, and then they'll give us replacement drums.
It sounds like what you're saying is, you hear about a lot of drug take-back days and that sort of thing across the city and across the county, but this is available all the time?
This is every day. There's actually, the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, is actually the parent of the program. And a couple times a year, the DEA will do the take-back programs, maybe at a pharmacy or somewhere. And the studies have shown that these drug take-back boxes that we have collect probably 2 to 3 times as much as these public take-backs do. So yes, it's a 24/7 access to where you can just walk in. You don't even have to talk to us. It's right by the front door. You walk in, you drop it in there, and you're gone. And
you mentioned also that no questions asked.
Right.
So if it's some kind of illegal substance, as long as they're putting it in there, you're good.
We're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't ask anybody. You can leave the bottle. You can leave everything. It's all going to get either incinerated or shredded. And it's a wonderful program. 2,500 pounds. That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Last year, 2017, we had 580 pounds. And I usually bring a little sample of what a pound of medicine looks like. It's about the size of a good hearty burrito. So if you imagine 580 of those in a year, we're talking a good stack of pills.
Right.
So we encourage people to use that program. We think that is one of the ways that we can combat the drug issue. And people say, well, does Tullahoma have a drug problem? And I get to ask that quite a bit of times, and I have to answer it with 4 additional questions. And that first question I usually ask is, well, do we have legitimate prescriptions that get abused by people? Yes,
obviously.
we know.
Yeah.
Do we have legitimate prescriptions that are getting shared with other people?
Right.
We know we have that happen. Just think about your own household. You get a pain medication, and like you said, you don't use it, you hang on to it, and then someone in your family has a need, and you say, well, I've got a prescription from before. Yeah.
And that's really not a good thing
That's
to
illegal.
do.
That's
I didn't know it was illegal.
It's a criminal offense.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Then do we have illicit drugs come in? The things that you don't get a prescription for, the illegal stuff. And we know that's in our community. And then the last is, do we have synthetic drugs, those that are made by changing one chemical compound to something? Do we have that, the synthetic marijuana, the synthetic fentanyl, the synthetic, whatever we may have? Yes, we have that in our community. So then, yes, we have a problem if we have those 4 answered. And I think at the round table yesterday, everybody, whether you were private sector, public sector, nonprofit, whatever, said that it's not unique to our community. It's every community across the country that would be able to say, yes, we got a drug problem, because those 4 questions can be answered in the positive.
It's interesting that you talk about you getting drugs off the street, but these are, as you said, prescription drugs. And so what are your options are when you don't no longer need them? Flush them down the commode, put them in the garbage. Those are not good options, I would.
They're not good options. They are options, but we would much rather you give them to us, and we'll destroy them in a proper way. But you're right. When 2 of those questions deal with legitimate prescriptions, then that's kind of hard to combat that. Then we have to look to the doctors, that are prescribing it. And Governor Haslam came out yesterday talking about some of his new opioid program, and if you read it, he's got some pretty good things in there, that how they want to try to regulate the amount of opioids that are being distributed.
And which is getting to be a huge problem, I would imagine. I heard on TV this morning, I think, about one county in Kentucky, and it wasn't an urban county; it was a rural county.
Yeah.
That they had there was 18 million.
Yeah.
Opioids that had been prescribed to people in that county.
There was a woman from the state here yesterday that I forget what the acronym was, but in the know, and she said Coffee County, as of yesterday, there's a daily ticker tape that tells them, as of yesterday, had 87,000 active prescriptions for opioids.
Now,
Coffee County.
Yeah, and to put that in perspective, there's probably, 50,000 people
about 50,000
that live in this county.
And then she said, and just in comparison, Hamilton County, Chattanooga, and all that, had 320,000 active prescriptions for opioids. So, that raised a lot of our eyebrows of, 87,000
that's unbelievable
prescriptions.
Yeah.
And like you said, with a population of under 60,000 people, then
it's almost 2 prescriptions.
And I don't have one, so I know it's not me
I don't either.
that's got one.
I don't either.
So that's where are all those pills going to?
Exactly.
We want you to bring them to us and let us destroy them.
Right.
So that they don't get abused, like we said.
Absolutely.
They don't get shared with someone that doesn't really have a doctor saying this is what you need.
Right. And you probably don't need to leave them laying around your house anyway, because somebody could accidentally.
Yeah. Then it becomes something that someone could then steal it. So that's kind of another one of those questions that can be thrown in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So bring it to us. Bring us your stuff, and
anytime,
we'll get rid of it.
Just drop it off at the police station. No questions asked.
That's correct.
So, okay. Paul, good information to know. I guess we need to end this segment now, because we have to have a talk with Lenore, your wife, because she maybe doesn't realize that this people look forward to this. All the information we provide in this segment.
And they're out there disrupting us.
We can't have distractions.
But I've got to eat tonight, and so I don't want you to do anything that jeopardizes.
Actually, Paul, if we have any sense at all, we'll just let this slide. Won't say anything.
Yeah, like we won't tell anybody, right?
Yeah, right. You're right. We're, we like to kid around, but Paul and I are not stupid. So, okay, Paul, thanks again. We appreciate it.
All righty,
folks. We'll be right back with more living right after this.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He does the work of 2 jobs, but only gets paid for one. He's tough enough to feed the man that gave him a lifetime of nourishment. He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching. That's right. No employee of the month bonus check here. This guy, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. Good luck finding a gym to train for that. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Is this the year you want to get fit? If so, check out just some of the things Tullahoma Parks and Rec has to offer. Kickboxing, aerobics, silver sneakers workouts, swim lessons, boot camp, water aerobics, basketball, Zumba, yoga, pickleball, lap swimming, treadmill, karate. Get fit, Tullahoma, and have some fun with Tullahoma Parks and Rec.
When your family suffers the loss of a loved one, the caring and compassionate staff at Tullahoma Funeral Home and Coffee County Funeral Chapel are standing by to assist you in every way possible. We are proud to support local industry and offer only Batesville caskets. Many funeral homes don't own or operate a crematory. We utilize the only crematory in Coffee County. Your loved one never leaves Coffee County. We can accommodate any need and any budget. Consider our complete pre-need service to remove this burden from your family during their time of grief. Lock in today's low costs and protect from inflation. Tullahoma Funeral Home and Coffee County Funeral Chapel. Our family caring for your family.
history about this and that. It's Conversations with John and Pat, with John and Pat, with John and Pat.
Hello everyone, I'm John Rickman.
And this is Pat Welch, and we are here today for segment 75 of the Conversations with John and Pat. Kind of a milestone.
Yes, it's kind of a milestone.
And the crowd's starting to pick up too,
Yeah.
if you hadn't noticed.
Well, I'm going to do sort of a sad song.
Okay.
Pat, I don't mean to do it, but the Carters made this famous, and a lot of people, I like it too.
Well, we may need to idle down just a little bit.
Well, we'll build that story back up. You've got another story. We don't want to make it sad all the way through.
Okay.
I was standing by my window on a cold and winter's day when I saw that hearse come rolling to take my mother away. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Undertaker, 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 please drive slow, 'cause I know this body you carry, Lord, I hate to see her go. I will follow close behind her, try to hold on and be brave. But I could not hide my sorrow when they laid her in the grave. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky.
That was good, John. That's a little bit more of a somber rendition than the normal
hard song at some time, but it's a good one. It's well written. It's sung all over the mountains of Appalachia and in Nashville and all those places.
It was good, really good.
Can I tell you a little story before we start?
I hope you will.
Well, my brother, he can't hear real good, and he and my sister-in-law were sitting on their back porch not long ago, and he had his hearing aid turned off, and he was reading a book. And my sister-in-law was looking out over their yard and saw such a beautiful backyard, things they'd planted, and thought about their children and about how good a husband Jimmy's been and how good a father he's been to the girls, and she thought about Jimmy, how he had provided. She looked over at Jimmy and said, "Jimmy, I'm proud of you." And he turned to her and said, "Well, I'm tired of you too." That was just a joke. But it
was a good one.
Seems like it applies to someone who can't hear real good.
Real well, John, would be. And I caught myself with the wrong past tense of the verb run not long ago and have regretted it ever since. I hope you'll correct me next time.
My wife corrects me a lot.
Well, we both need that.
So we've got a segment coming up, and she wanted me to pronounce the word correctly, not end it with a wrong.
I think I've mentioned to you before we would like to be a little bit better grammar-wise on this show, but there's no denying that Dizzy Dean did a good job on his announcing, and he always used the past tense of the word verb slide was slud.
We just hope that you people accept us the way we are.
That's right. Just like they did Dizzy.
Go ahead.
Am I on
yes,
this? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I've got a little bit of a story and so forth to tell, and if our viewership will allow me, it will get back to Tullahoma. And the topic today is going to be the Brown family and from Cookeville, which the two of the more famous members were Mac and Watson Brown, and they would have played high school football in Cookeville. I believe Watson, his senior year, was in the season of '66, and Mac, his younger brother, was a running back on that team. Watson was a quarterback, and a really, really good one. And he ended up going to Alabama, to Vanderbilt, after he was recruited to Alabama by Bear Bryant, and played baseball and football there. And in 1969, he quarterbacked a team that beat Alabama when they were ranked. I believe the score was 14-10. One of the bigger and acclaimed victories for Vanderbilt. And then Mac played with him for a while, and he transferred to Florida State. Well, their coaching days are pretty famous. And Watson, let's see, he was assistant several places, but I think his first head job was at Austin Peay, and from Austin Peay he took offensive coordinator position at several places, and then became head coach at Cincinnati, Rice, then at Vanderbilt, then University of Alabama Birmingham, and he was AD there, and then he went to Tennessee Tech and retired there. And one thing a little bit on Watson, he was a great high school athlete and great collegiate athlete. And his senior year, he got his knee hurt, and he relied on his crutches. He put too much weight on his armpits, which I think is the incorrect usage of crutches, and it affected his shoulder where there was some nerve damage done in it, in his left shoulder, and he made all-conference center fielder on the baseball team for Coach Smitto, who was a great, he won Larry Smitto won several SEC championships and ended up starting the Sounds franchise in Nashville. But Watson's arm or shoulder was damaged so bad that he caught fly balls that he couldn't get his glove over his shoulder. He'd have to take his throwing hand and lift his glove up to catch the ball, and still made all conference. Now that's a good baseball player.
Yes, sir.
Mac, his brother, was probably maybe not quite as good an athlete, but he was a good athlete. He played running back at Vanderbilt and also at Florida State after he transferred. And I've heard both of them speak, and Watson and Mac both agree that Mac took better jobs. But his first head coaching job was Appalachian State, and then he went to Tulane, University of North Carolina, and then, of course, at Texas, where he won a national championship. And Mac is, I believe, this year has been voted in the National College Hall of Fame, which, of course, is an absolute big deal. But
he's a football commentator too.
He's a football commentator. Now put those pictures up there, Philip, please. There's Watson's on the left at Tennessee Tech, and if you've seen Mac on TV recently, you'll notice his hair is quite a bit grayer, but I'm jealous of him. He's got hair. Those two brothers. Now we're going back to Tullahoma. Watson, while he was at Tennessee Tech, came and spoke at a Boy Scout fundraiser in Tullahoma, because there were two Tullahoma football players on the squad at Cookeville at that time. And so he came and spoke, and ends up, I had just a short conversation with him, but their grandfather, his name was Eddie, and he went by Jelly Watson. And that's how Watson got his first name. His first name came from his grandfather's last name. His mother was a Watson. And he was a really, really successful high school coach. In fact, he was the first coach, I think, in Cookeville, like in either 22 or 25, something like that. And he coached through, I think, the 28 season maybe, and then he went to Salina and was there a couple years, or about 10 years, and came back to Cookeville and coached through the 1958 season. And he may be in the TSSAA Hall of Fame, but he is a legend in the Cookeville area. Well, Watson had told me that they played Tullahoma at Tullahoma either in 57 or 58, which would either be the first season it was on Wilkins Stadium or the second season, and that Tullahoma beat them, gave Jelly Watson his worst defeat ever there. And Mac and Watson were 7 and 6 years old and on the sideline for that game, which I thought was that may not interest many people, but it sure interested me to have two guys of that kind of stature there when they could still remember that when they from the time they were 6 and 7 years old.
You say there was an excellent football player at that time, Curly Simmons. Didn't he have something to say about it?
Well, that ended up being later when I searched, and he was confused on the year.
Yeah.
I went to a Cookeville game later on, and that was in '65, I believe, and that may have been close to when our good friend and our management representative for Mr. Gray would have been playing. But we beat them really bad, and Curly Simmons kicked off. He was a great athlete, and I think it was 7 times, and every one of them was into the end zone, and one of them was over the end line. And that didn't happen very often in high school football at the time. And Curly was a great athlete, and he followed. They came after that Watson Brown deal. Then we had talked earlier. We thought at one time that may have been the same night, but it was not. It was a little bit earlier when one of the last years of his grandfather's coaching. But not many people knew that Watson and Mac Brown, two famous, nationally famous coaches, were
being at Cookeville when I see him on television.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he did well.
John, that pretty well wraps up segment 75.
That was a good story about Tullahoma and how it relates to Cookeville.
That's correct. And we've got plenty of stories to go if management will allow. Thank you all.
Talking history about this and that. It's conversations with John and Pat. With John and Pat. With John and Pat.
At the time, maybe you were just building a bridge, a business, or a community. Maybe you were simply working for a home or a better tomorrow. At the time, you served out of duty and love of country. But in that time, we see a legacy created, an American dream lived.
Welcome back. I've just been talking to the nicest young man, Eddie Phillips. Hi, Eddie.
How you doing?
I'm so glad you came today.
Good to be here.
Eddie is with the Tullahoma Art Center today. That's what we're talking about. And you have an exhibit going on. And what sort of exhibit is it?
I just basically did a sample of all different photography that I do.
And we brought some pictures of your photography.
Right.
And in the meantime, let's tell people what you work with airport here, right?
Yeah, I'm a
Archiving.
contributing photographer for the Beechcraft Heritage Museum here in town.
So what do? You just go out and take pictures of airplanes or
Right,
people
right.
jumping out of airplanes and whatever
Right,
grabs you?
right.
Do they give you an assignment?
Well, no, each year in October we have what we call a beach party.
Yeah.
And people from all around the world comes, and there's several of photographers, and we'll go up in planes and take aerial photography, and I like going around and getting little detailed shots. And
You sound a little bit like Sam Krim. He likes to do that too,
yeah,
doesn't he?
he's big into that too. Yeah.
Sam
yeah.
has a studio down in the Avenue,
Right.
and he's into framing now. But I know he does photography, and I think you two might be friends.
Yeah, I told him, I called him up and said they just want me to do a photo exhibit, and he said, I'll help you out. So I said, well, Sam, I'll definitely do
good.
it then.
I think you have some. Let's look at some of the photographs that you have brought, and
Okay.
maybe you can tell me a little bit about it.
All right, this is a good friend of mine here in town,
Look at it,
David Floyd.
Yeah.
That's in Savannah, Georgia. He does some high performance driving, and he's got his own personal photographer with me there.
I'm curious about the coloring on that. It's very artistic.
Yeah,
It
it's
could almost be a painting.
I try to shoot a real slow shutter speed. That's about 1/20th of a second.
Yeah.
And he's probably doing 100 plus right there. So, and I try to catch the. There was a little pond, just a little puddle, and I kept noticing the reflection.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful. Very artistic.
well, thank you.
And I guess you brought more. There
Yeah.
we go. Oh my gosh.
And,
Were you in an airplane you did this?
Yeah, I'm an old skydiver. Due to health, I can't. This is all the stuff I used to do when I was
Right.
healthy. So
But you still love it, and you
now-
still love to photograph it.
photography is my therapy
So how
on
far
this.
up are they?
They're at 14,500
Oh, my
feet.
goodness.
And I just kind of hung out the door and took that picture.
Honestly, how can
Yeah.
you ever have anxiety and hang out the door of an airplane to take a picture?
It's my calm
Oh, what's
place.
this?
Okay, that's in Savannah, Georgia. Also, I named that one Spider-Man. His car's painted like a Spider-Man, and
obviously
basically
he's flying.
He's moving on right there, and so I do a slow shutter speed and do what you call panning, and I love doing those type of shots. Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
And then the calm part, I love doing black and white, and
I think black and white's always intriguing. Where is that?
that is in Belfast, Tennessee, and I did I was driving one day and went by and saw the buildings, and I took it, and it was the only shot of it I did other than a color.
Well, it's very artistic, and
Right.
I think a lot of people would pass that and not realize what a beautiful photograph could be taken. It almost looks like a painting.
Yeah, after taking it, I thought, well, I hit this one. It looks kind of like a drawing more than a photograph. So.
And do you have others, or?
Yeah, there's a few more. This is some more skydiving. That's a good buddy of mine, Issa. When they're looking out the door, it's like
Now I see his face.
Yeah,
I got it.
it's silhouetted, and the light through the door acts like a softbox. So
That's
I love.
interesting.
Yeah,
I love that too.
he's thinking about the jump coming ahead.
I wonder. Oh, go ahead with the airplane.
Okay, this is during the beach party. We was flying the Winchester. That's AT-11. I was in another duplicate one in the nose of it.
Oh my.
It's the bombardier seat.
That is a beautiful shot.
And so I was shooting at that. That's another, that's a Bonanza V-tail. I was standing by the runway.
Now,
and
is he coming in or going up?
he was just buzzing the runway.
Okay.
At a pretty high rate of speed, and I always try to show motion in my photography.
Well, you do a great job.
And I had to
Sweet.
throw one of the grandkids. That's when my grandson was born,
That is
and
so sweet.
his sister held them. So
Now that's beautiful in black and white.
yeah.
What a great job, and I'm sure you have many, 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 many more. I mean, this is just a small sample. You are going to open an art exhibit at the Art Center.
Correct.
On the 4th of February from
Right.
2 to 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Right,
I didn't have to
right.
look at my note. I remembered that.
Yeah.
And the Art Center is on South Jackson
South
Street.
Jackson.
And it's a beautiful place, and your exhibit probably will be there for a month, but the reception will be on February 4th.
4th, and what I understand, there's going to be few more photographers
That
also.
will be showing
yeah.
their stuff, and they usually have refreshments. And if you're a member of the Art Center, which I encourage everybody to become a member, you get in for free, but I believe they ask for a $5 donation.
I think it's a $5 donation.
Which is a real good deal. I
Right.
mean, let's face it, we all want to support the arts in our community.
Right.
Who is the art person in charge there now?
The one I've been talking to is Pauline. I just met her when she asked if I would do
okay.
it. So, but
I wonder who you don't happen to know who the other photographers are? It's all right if you don't, it doesn't matter.
I have no clue. I'll meet them. I guess
You'll meet them on the day of the
Right,
reception,
right.
and we certainly invite everybody out to come. What inspires you the most when it comes to taking your pictures?
Yeah, I started out at a young age. My mother did photography while they was putting in Thames Ford Lake. She would go around documenting all the old buildings, and as they was building the bridges.
Yeah.
And I was along with her, and when I turned 12, she bought me my first Kodak camera
from
from Couches here in town, and had the little square bulb.
Right.
And so I was always taking pictures, and I got kind of serious back in the 80s when my first son was born, and I learned to develop my own film. I love black and white.
So you actually produced the whole thing?
Right, right.
Do you remember what your first picture was when you were a kid?
It was probably a race car. I was always
you loved racing and race cars.
And horses. I always took pictures of barns that was falling down and such. So
I love the old barns too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited about your exhibit, and I plan to be there on February 4th from sometime between 2 and 5, and we invite everybody to the art show. And thanks, Eddie.
Thank you.
Our time is up. We got to go.
Thank you.
We hope you'll come back.
Yeah, I hope.
We'll be back with more information.
Smoking tobacco accounts for 3 of every 10 fire deaths in the United States.
Tullahoma Fire Department needs you en route to a structure fire, 202 Main Street. Heavy smoke showing. Neighbors advise child trapped inside.
Lighters, matches, and associated smoking paraphernalia are the leading cause of preschooler fire deaths. We as firefighters know that most structure fires can be prevented.
I've got one! Command, this is primary search. We have a victim. Need EMS to meet us at the front door.
Please help us to give you a fighting chance. This can be prevented. Contact the Tullahoma Fire Department for a free home safety inspection.
What's a Tennessee vacation? It starts off like any road trip, and then, boom, adventure and thrills everywhere you look, which happens to be some of the most beautiful scenery in the country. Music here, history there, and all kinds of green in between. Come relax and unwind, or bring the crowd for some stargazing, or stargazing. Whatever you do, come hungry and expect an awesome soundtrack. It's all right here in Tennessee. We're playing your song. For a free vacation guide, visit tnvacation.com.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back, and I'm proud to have our representatives from the Chamber of Commerce here, the Executive Director, Hope Sarton, and the new president, Lenore Blackwell.
Yes.
And y'all have beads on. Look at that's a big bunch of beads right there.
Thank you.
Like beads. And you're promoting your celebration.
Yes.
So let us know.
Well, we are so excited about the celebration this year. So it's going to be on a Friday night, which is a little bit of a change, but so we're
change is good.
Yeah, we're gonna have it on Friday, February 2nd, and it's going to be at the Coffee County Conference Center.
Oh, well, that's exciting.
Yes.
That's a new twist, isn't it?
We have a great menu planned and some fun changes that everyone's going to need to attend to find out all of them. We don't want to give them all away.
Well, is there, there's normally a theme. Is there a theme to this, or is that something you really don't want to give away?
Well, actually, no, there's no theme. I think people need to know that, so that they can plan their outfit. But, we just want to have just a nice event, and people will just come and celebrate the amazing 2017 that we had. So.
And it was good, wasn't it?
It was a great year. Yes, it was.
Your first year?
I know, my first year.
And I want to say thanks to you and congratulate you on the job well done.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And because taking over for someone who had been there as long as Diane and done the things that she had done, you've stepped right into that job and have done yourself proud.
I appreciate that.
Very much so as well.
Great
and
job.
You've been involved ever since you showed up in town.
Yes, a few years ago.
Yeah, and everything from a greeter to a
ambassador.
Ambassador to now the president.
president for 2018.
2018.
Yes.
And does that get you out of working with Billy Philpott, or does that even make it twice as bad?
Well, you know, I tried, and Hope said, absolutely not. You still have to do the parade. So I love the parade. So
Oh, of
definitely.
course, we all love the parade.
Yes.
So, are there any? Now, again, this is the 6th?
No, February 2nd.
Second.
It's actually Groundhog Day. So,
Ooh.
You know, I might just get up and say the same thing over and over and over again. and save myself from
Wear a
having to
Bill
write
Murray
multiple-
mask.
There we go.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great event. You know, we give away our Business of the Year, Small Business of the Year, Citizen
Right.
of the Year, Ambassador of the Year, the President's Award, and so there are going to be some neat little surprises along the way. And of course, we won't have a silent auction this year. Instead, we're going to have 2 really great baskets that you'll have the chance to win.
Win a great basket. Yeah, and normally, and I don't know because I wasn't in on the planning of this, but normally there's some kind of a talk or a speaker that's entertaining.
The MC?
The MC is an
We have-
entertaining individual, to say the least.
We definitely have a very entertaining individual. Catherine Murray, Kat,
Oh.
is going to be our MC.
Oh, well,
So-
that'll be fun.
Yes, yes.
That'll
there
be
will
great
not be
fun.
a dull moment.
No, never when Kat's around. And speaking about someone, of course, I think she's been Citizen of the Year before.
She was
and
the Citizen of the Year last year, so
Yeah,
she will actually
she has done
present the Citizen of the Year.
wonderful. She has done, one of those people that has done so much for this community and
We're so lucky
given
to have
so much in so many ways. What do you have, Lenore, in working with this lovely young lady? Have y'all had time enough yet to sort of scope out what your goals and your projections and some of the things you're going to try to achieve in 2018?
We have. One of our big objectives every year is to continue to grow the membership of the Chamber. And we've set some lofty goals, and so we're going to get out, boots on the ground is what we said, and you know, encourage the business owners to join the Chamber, because there are a lot of benefits that they can receive being a Chamber member. So that's one of our first objectives, increase membership. We're going to continue to have some of the staple events that we have, Taste of Tullahoma. We're going to hopefully have several business development seminars for the business leaders this year. We've got some thoughts and a good team together that are looking at that. Golf tournament, that's one of the first things I heard about was, are we going to have the golf tournament, the bowling tournament? Absolutely, we're going to continue those activities. And so we have a lot of good things. Women Impacting the Community is coming up in March.
Yeah,
So,
that's a very nice thing.
It is, and it's great for our community. We have so many female leaders and people who volunteer and give to this community, just like you were talking about with Kat, that you know, it's hard to recognize all of them in that short period of time. But that's one of the things that we'll be doing next after the celebration on Friday, the 2nd of February. Plug that again.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. You can still, and how does somebody get in touch? They can get in touch with the Chamber?
Oh, yes, most
To get a-
definitely.
to get a
They can
ticket?
go to the website to purchase tickets. They can call us. They can come in. We try to make it as easy as possible.
Well, of course.
So we're very excited, and you know, we'll have our live auction again this year, and I don't want to give everything away, but I will say that we do have the Jack Daniel's barbecue judging opportunity back.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Big one.
So congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
And just have a great year and just keep things going the way they're going. How is, just for me, my question for me, how are you liking your new building, the functionality of that? Is that working very well for you?
Yes, that building is a beautiful building, and you know, people come in all the time and they just say, wow, it's been so long since I've been here. And so, you know, I kind of have a terrible joke where I tell people to come by and see me, and I'll give you a cup of coffee and a tour whether you like it or not.
There you go. There you go. Sounds good to me. So we're excited. New businesses are coming to town.
Oh, yeah, we're growing.
We're growing,
and we will actually unveil our magazine at the celebration too, the Think Tullahoma magazine
Oh,
that
wonderful.
we've been working on since August with Exchange Media Group, and so so it's going to be a really, really nice publication. So.
Good. Well, I know y'all have a coffee to get to.
We do. Yep.
So-
hosted by Exchange Media Group at Beechcraft.
At Beechcraft, and that's, of course, that's this morning. So by the time you see this, it'll be too late. but go to the next one.
Yes,
And you don't
right.
have to be a member to go to a chamber coffee. That's a great way for you to go and find out what the chamber's really about. Meet and greet with folks and the head turners and the movers and shakers in Tullahoma, and usually you get something pretty good to eat while you're there. And a whole lot of information and goodwill by these two folks and everybody that works with them. So we appreciate y'all again.
Thank you, John.
Very much for what you do.
Well, we
and
can't
have
leave-
and have a good year, my dear.
We can't leave without asking, do you have your ticket? For
Do I have my ticket?
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh, good.
Oh, good.
Good. Great. We wouldn't want you to miss
We'll
the
have
party.
to ask the boss of my
Yes.
media group, the Great Group. That would be Fran. She's
Yes.
the boss of the Great Group. So we'll
look forward to seeing
hope to
you.
see you there.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Y'all
Thank you
be
for
safe.
having us.
Oh, anytime. You know you're always
Thank
welcome.
you.
Folks, we'll be right back after these messages.
The Animal Shelter has served Tullahoma dogs for nearly 30 years. Now, you can help us build a bigger and better no-kill shelter. Your tax-deductible gift is matched dollar for dollar, so come on, bark it forward and donate now to have your tax-deductible gift matched. Make your check payable to the COT Shelter Building Fund and go to tullahomatn.gov to see all the unique gifts available for your generosity. For more details, you can call City Hall at 455-2648.
Hi, I'm Fran Gray from South Jackson Civic Center, and it's my honor and privilege to introduce some of the characters from our theater series. Meet Emily Seal, who is a teacher at Montlow College, and she is directing a wonderful show we'll talk about in just a minute. Meet Doreen Schultz, an old friend who has returned to Tullahoma, and she has really stepped up with a lot of performing and a lot of behind-the-scenes work here at South Jackson. So we're thrilled that you're both involved, and we thank you for all your volunteer spirit here at South Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Tell us about Love, Loss, and What I Wore.
So this is a play by the Ephron sisters, Nora and Delia Ephron. I've been a huge fan of Nora Ephron since, forever. And so when I saw this play off Broadway being advertised, I immediately went and bought a copy, and here it is. Quite a few years later, I'm finally getting to direct it. So I am so thankful and honored to direct this wonderful cast of ladies, including Miss Doreen.
Thank you. Yes.
So glad to be here. So it's women's stories about important things that were happening to them and what they were wearing at the time. So it's based on a book by Eileen Beckerman, who sat down and drew these pictures of things that she was wearing when important things happened to her. So yeah, it's a beautiful play. It's very intimate. It's very funny at times and serious at other times. It's intended for mature audiences, and I think it's just a beautiful piece of poetry, personally.
Oh, I can hardly wait to see it. Now, you taught me a new term.
Okay.
As I said, that she's a teacher, and that's Reader's Theater.
Mm-hmm.
I remembered this time.
I'm proud.
Okay. Tell us about Reader's Theater. How is it different from regular theater?
Yeah, so the purpose of Reader's Theater is just to keep the emphasis on the script and the words and the poetry of the piece. And so there's music stands, and the actresses don't have to memorize all of those lines, although Doreen is wonderful at memorizing the lines. They'll have the scripts in front of them. And so it's a more laid-back environment that puts the focus on the script.
How many cast members are there?
9.
9, and they're from Tullahoma, Manchester, and where?
Yeah, Franklin County, and most of them are from right here in Tullahoma, I do think.
Right, and a lot of different ages in the group?
Yes, right? Our oldest, well, lady doesn't talk about such things. But we do have all ages of women down to, I think, 18 or 19?
18 or 19, yes.
And, I know one that's 63.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You're my age. So I guess we're going to hear a real diversity of life experience through the script. Doreen, you're playing the part of Gingy.
Right. I'm playing Gingy, who's kind of the narrator of the story. And she starts out by looking at different outfits she's worn starting as a child. And then pretty much just goes through her history from childhood to adult by these outfits. And I was telling Emily earlier, the funny thing about it is everything that I talk about, I have a point of reference to. I either remember it or I wore it myself. The one in particular is the outfit. There's a monologue about an outfit, and it reminds me very much of my days at West Junior High School.
Oh, yes.
So I think that even if you're younger or older, I think there will be something in there that you can relate to.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. So you narrate the story, and the other players will join in at different points with their story. Is that right? I bet you all kinds of lights will go off in our heads, memories, and even the feel of some of the things we wore, our outfit, or a special dress, or like you say, something that happened that was major in what we wore. It's funny how we females are made up, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Yes.
It's very cleverly written.
Wow, wonderful. Now, you all have been rehearsing this, and it opens February 2nd, and the evening shows, 2nd and 3rd, are at 7 o'clock.
Correct.
And on Sunday afternoon, it's at 2:30 here at South Jackson. And we just encourage all mature women, or some of us who are not as mature, to come and be part of this experience. We're going to have some vendors here, and we would invite you all to come at least a half hour before the show time, because we will have some items and some information that are pertinent to women's needs, to pampering ourselves. We'll have, as I say, some vendors, some information on self-care. And so we would invite you to come and peruse those items and that information. Our Mitchell Museum will be open as well, and there's a lot of history in there pertaining to women as well as men. And so we would invite all of you to come and enjoy particularly the influence of being a woman in our lives, of the women we've known, and you know, for some of us who are kind of on the other end now, how we may be influencing the ones coming behind us. It's really quite a lot to think about, isn't it?
It is.
And it's certainly not a play just for women to come see. I think that any gentleman that comes to see it there's some good laughs in it, and it might give you a little bit of insight into why women do the things they do and how they feel about certain things. So bring your husbands and your significant others along too.
Yes, it sounds like we're doing a little education outreach.
Yes.
Yeah, well, why not? Every day we can learn something new. So again, that's South Jackson Civic Center. You can buy your tickets online at southjackson.org. You may call our office at 931-455-5321. We will have reserved seating. And again, it's going to be an extraordinary evening, so wear your favorite outfit or your favorite dress, or bring it along. You know, I might have a dress from childhood that I could bring my sister, and she could bring her little dress, because Mother often dressed us alike. So we could do that. So anyway, it will be a fun trip down memory lane. You might bring a little hanky with you as well. So there's some rather serious, poignant moments. Is that right?
There are. There's some beautiful looking back at these are real women's stories. As you know, Nora Ephron was a journalist before she was a playwright and also a screenwriter. And so this is documentary style. It's got a lot of real women's stories of what was happening to them when they wore these outfits. And so it gives a different tinge of emotion to it than I think a regular fiction.
Well, again, we thank you so much for your devotion to the arts, to good literature, and to entertaining the citizens of Tullahoma and the area. And again, y'all come out and see Love, Loss, and What I Wore. Thanks.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
All right, we had Eddie Smith on just a minute ago, and now we have some more artists that have shown up, photographers from the Art Center, and they're going to be part of this show. And I'm going to let you introduce yourselves and talk about this real quick. We have about 7 minutes to get it covered. So, who are you?
I'm Marianne Morrison, and I'm one of the photographers that's going to be participating in our show, which will start on February the 4th.
Through 24th.
And it will run through the 24th.
Okay.
I'm really excited. This is my first time showing anything away from the Art Depot in Cowan with the Franklin County Art Guild.
I'm going to start showing some of this stuff, and you describe it.
Okay. This is a photograph in a floating frameless frame. A lot of people aren't familiar with these. The hardware at the top and the bottom here, which screws into the wall, and then the cap goes on the front. This particular piece, which will be in the local history exhibit, is my boathouse.
Your boathouse. All right, let's see what we have next.
This is Rock City. This is the beautiful gardens there and falls.
And this is on a piece of metal.
It is, and it gives a beautiful luster to the piece.
And then what about this one?
This is another one from Falls Mill.
Oh, I like that. Look at that.
Love this shot.
Falls Mill, isn't that beautiful?
And one of our other photographers here has a piece also from Falls Mill, and you'll see how interesting it is. They're taken at a different time of year. The last one here is on wood. I've been experimenting with putting photographs on different media or different bases. And this one gives this picture a feel of an old-time postcard or a tintype photo.
Right, sure does.
Now this particular image from Falls Mill, the portable steam engine, is no longer there. The good news is that they're refurbishing that engine to make it work. Someone else is doing that.
Very good.
It's no longer
All right,
available,
let's go
though.
right down the line.
I'm Andrew Kenworthy, a local photographer. I also do portrait photography. I brought a couple of pieces here. One is an old home and an old car up in Lynchburg. Just happened to catch it on a just after one of our snowy days there. So want to catch that before it all melted off. But since the theme of this art show is kind of historical things, local historical things, I chose that because just the car and the house itself looks pretty historical there. And then I also have a print there of Falls Mill. It's not on metal like Marian's was, it's on a matte paper, and a slightly different process on that.
It's beautiful.
So yeah, Falls Mill is a beautiful place. If you haven't been out there, it's actually a working mill. But those are the two pieces I have.
Okay. And there'll be, of course, there'll be other pieces there
There'll be a
at
lot
the
more
show.
pieces. Yep. Everybody will, I'm sure, have a lot more over there.
These are just samples. And so next down here we have an old buddy of mine, Stanton Tubb, who I hadn't seen in quite some
Long
time,
time,
and
yeah.
Stanton's here bringing some of his photography
Actually, I
work.
live in Rock Island now. Lived in Tullahoma several
Long
years.
time, yeah.
Yeah, and enjoyed working with the couches and all the printing, picture making
There
that
you
we
go.
did over the years. And my pictures that I have, the first one is of Rock Island. That is the island, and that's one of my favorite ways of doing pictures is a long exposure. It's very late in the day, and it's probably a minute, and that made the clouds kind of shift, and the water's smooth, and
so there is actually a rock at Rock Island?
There's a Rock Island. There is a Rock Island, yeah. It's not in the park either.
No. And what else do you have, Stan? You've got
Okay, the
one.
next picture happens to be
Wow.
Beautiful.
Dead Horse Canyon, and that is that's in Utah, in the northern part of Utah around Moab, and that's
impressive.
Yeah, that turned out pretty well. They have a storm, a rainstorm in the back,
yeah,
and that kind of set it off a little bit.
You know, that's
there.
one thing that we don't get to see. And when I traveled out west the first time and went through all of that, I was in every state west of the Mississippi, is how you can see so far away. And here, you know, it's so lush in the hills, you know, you can't see more than 50, 100 yards away when you're driving. Out there, you can see 70, 80 miles. And you can see these storms like that moving in. It's just absolutely intriguing to watch that
It
stuff.
really is. It's interesting.
It's interesting what
and
God
it seems like it
makes.
takes you forever to get to someplace.
Right.
Although you can see it, it still takes forever to get there.
And then you have one in your hand as well. What's that, Stan?
And this picture is Avoca Falls.
There you go.
That is, I went down there not long ago and took pictures. And this particular picture had enough rain to show the other falls right here on the side.
Right.
So there's two falls down there, evidently. And there may be more, but that's the only ones I saw. And Fran and Dan let me go down there and get those pictures.
Yeah.
And I took a picture down there probably in the 70s, early 70s. And I gave that picture to Fran, and it seemed like it.
Okay, so all of these fine folks are going to be at the Tullahoma Art Center starting on February
4th.
The 4th through the
That's
24th.
Actually, that'll be the artist's reception on the 4th. It's a Sunday, 2 to 4. And then the actual show will run through the 24th.
Through the 24th. So folks will be able to go down there when the art center's open and see all this wonderful photography.
That's right. And there will be food and drinks available
That's right.
after you enter.
And they have a gift shop down there, so I'll bet you can buy something down there while you're there too.
Absolutely.
Guaranteed. Y'all will have stuff for sale, won't you?
Yes.
Thank you
for this opportunity.
Thank you each for being here. Stanton,
Yeah,
great
good
to
to
see you
see
again,
you.
my friend.
Thanks
Folks, we'll be back after these messages. Go to the Art Center and buy something local and real, created by local artists. We'll be right back.
Here at Manchester Funeral Home, we know the importance of living and working in our local community because it's those families who we serve during their time of need honorably. We believe in supporting local business and offer only 100% Batesville caskets, the best in the industry and a driver of our local economy. If you want straightforward and fair pricing while working with the people you know, choose Manchester Funeral Home, serving your community since 1932. And pre-planning and pre-funding can be the best gift you ever leave your loved ones. Call us to pre-arrange. Manchester Funeral Home. Our family, caring for your family since 1932.
All right, folks, last night Miss Tennessee was at the Tullahoma Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting after a visit here about the Drug Coalition. We bring you that video right now. Thanks for being with us today, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I have had an absolute wonderful time here in Tullahoma. I started out this morning with a wonderful luncheon and was able to talk about my story and hear so much even more about Count It, Lock It, Drop It. And it's so wonderful that it started right here in Tullahoma, and now I'm a statewide spokesperson, but this is something that is occurring in states across the nation, just this program that started right here. And so I am in awe of the amount of people who have come together to talk about an epidemic that is so close and personal to my heart and my passions and what I've spent many years working towards. So I've, fundraised over $40,000 for substance abuse prevention and recovery. I have helped fundraise for babies who are born dependent on drugs through our Children's Miracle Network hospitals. It's affecting everyone. So a little bit more about my story is that I grew up in a family plagued by addiction. I have 12 family members who have struggled or are currently struggling with a substance use disorder. And I was never able to meet my grandfather. He died in a drunk driving accident when my dad was 14 years old. I lost my half-brother 5 years ago to an opioid addiction and alcoholism after he took his own life. And I lost my father to suicide as well 3.5 years ago after he battled opioid addiction and alcoholism. And so when I was asked to be a spokesperson for these organizations, I am honestly lucky to be here in this position. There are many different paths that could have occurred or that I could have taken that would have taken me to a recovery center or have overdosed. I could have not graduated high school. We have these paths. I've been fortunate enough to have taken the right ones, and I think that took me seeing the wrong ones. And so I saw kind of what was going on in my family when I was in 6th grade. And so I was exposed to what drugs and alcohol do to your body when I saw my dad passed out. And so I had to go through different thinking and logical ways to fix that solution when I was 11 years old. And I had a younger sister there. And so that kind of started the idea that I wanted to take a different path, and this was wrong. And so as Miss Tennessee, I'm able to speak on that and share this been there, done that mentality, but more of a story of you don't have to take that path. We read a lot of statistics today throughout my day, and the topic is not one that is full of bright and happy thoughts. And I think that's why a lot of times we go over it so quickly. But it is impacting 1 in 3 households, if I would say more, in America. And here in Tullahoma, here in my hometown of Knoxville. And so as Miss Tennessee, I get to share that message. When I was in high school, I coped by finding music a huge passion of mine, and that was my talent at Miss America. But I was a singer, or I am a singer, and my passion for music never stopped. It's been a coping mechanism. My academics were a coping mechanism. There's things that I could control. Musical theater, that was a way that I could be someone else and not have to worry about what was going on stage right and left because I was someone else. And so being able to share different ways of healthy coping mechanisms through this this time that we are in now has been my job. And it wasn't easy. And what I get to share that Miss Tennessee never had a perfect life. I didn't grow up in a castle and my parents didn't stay together. I mean, being able to share those things allows kids to be more vulnerable with me when I'm vulnerable with them. And so it's been really, truly an honor of a lifetime, and it's kick-started kind of why, what I want to be when I grow up, So I think that's everyone's question still a lot of times, but it's an exciting and hopeful place that we're in right now. So I appreciate you having me here, Mayor Curley. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any questions or observations? Yes. Yeah. You weren't dismissed just yet. Any questions? Anything? I know you travel a lot.
Yes.
You visit thousands of children every month.
Yeah. So I travel 80,000 miles. I speak to 50,000 students across the state. And so I get to serve as Governor Haslam's spokesperson for character education throughout the year and talk about substance abuse. And I merge those two by talking about respect. So I talk about respecting your teachers. And then I move forward to respecting your future, meaning respect your body and your mind. And I graduated with a psychology degree from the University of Tennessee, and so I definitely believe in having a strong mind, and I think that gets us further than we want to believe. But if we do believe in ourselves and we start having that positive thought process versus a negative one. I know throughout middle school I battled with having that negative self-talk, thinking it was my fault and that I had to fix it alone. And so I talk about the 4 C's, which are I didn't cause it, I can't cure it, but I can celebrate myself and make good choices. And so they can take those 4 C's throughout everything. Maybe they don't have substance abuse problems in their family. They could be dealing with a parent's divorce. They could have a sibling that is in recovery or going through treatment. They could have lost a grandparent. All of those things still work for those 4 C's. And so when I talk about different struggles that I've been through, just starting in middle school, it didn't get better after that. It got a little worse. And so I might have been homecoming queen, but I still had Twitter notifications of my dad's arrests. I still was getting drunk calls from my dad while I was in college. And so I had been grieving my father for a long time before his death. And so I think that's why I'm able to talk about it. And I truly do believe in psychology, and after therapy, and I have to take care of myself too if I'm speaking to 50,000 students. It's a lot, it's a tough job, but I'm truly honored that they picked me to be the one to do it.
Wow. So, we've prepared something for you as well. A certificate of recognition presented to Katie Davis, Miss Tennessee 2017, in recognition of being an advocate of drug-free programs and for making the Coffee County Anti-Drug Coalition's Count It, Lock It, Drop It initiative part of her platform as Miss Tennessee, and in appreciation for visiting Tullahoma to discuss why she advocates for this program. So on behalf of the 18,655 citizens that call Tullahoma home, and by the authority vested in me as mayor of Tullahoma, I now therefore proclaim Monday, January the 22nd, 2018, as Katie Davis Day in Tullahoma.